Hi, and welcome to the very first episode of the AI Survival Club podcast, where AI is not the person you have to worry about to taking your job. However, if you don't learn it, you can be one of those left on the sidelines. My name is Kevin Simon, and this afternoon we have a panel of our founding members, Justin Brooks and Larry Gilreath, and I'll allow them to provide an introduction to themselves.
Larry, you want to go first or you want me?
Sure. I'm nobody important. I've had the opportunity to work with some of the larger tech companies within the industry, Microsoft and Amazon, part of AWS. I've been in IT since about the seventh grade. Went to a school called Computech, which focused on really integrating computers into every aspect of learning. And that's kind of where I was brought up, my trenches, so to say, that I grew up in. I think the more important thing you should know about me is I believe that for the majority of us, AI is not going to take your job. I do believe, though, that you could lose your job to someone who knows how to use AI as a tool. And so what I hope we do with the AI Survival Club is to give you the right resources, the right information, the right hands-on experience, so that way you know how to use AI as a tool. So you can not only keep your job, but grow your career as well.
For sure. I'm Justin Brooks. I haven't been in tech as long as LG, but really my background is more entrepreneurial, operations based, strategic planning. I'm just smart enough to learn how to code. So I went to Georgetown, got my master's degree in business analytics. I know 3 programming languages. So I can't speak to technology. I can read code, and I enjoy the subject. I echo what Larry was saying. You know, AI is not going to take your job, but the person that can prompt engineer definitely will. So this is definitely a topic that needs to be discussed, and I'm excited to talk about it.
Yeah. Great. I'm really appreciative to have both of you with us, and I'd let our listening audience know that both of you were being extremely modest in your introduction. Justin is about to graduate with his doctorate program here in another month or so.
Yeah.
And Larry has been a leader for some of the larger cloud scalers, AWS and Microsoft Azure. So we're speaking with people who are in the know. They're familiar with learning technology. They're familiar with the practice of technology. And that's why we think that you are qualified to speak this afternoon on the topic of AI. And as our inaugural chat, one of the things I probably wanted to start with was a little bit of a foundation as to AI, right? We've been hearing that AI over the last 2 years. It's intimidated some people.
Yeah.
And so the question now is, okay, when did AI actually start? What's the background of AI? Is it really just 2 to 5 years old, or where did it come from?
That's a great question. And it helps us kind of bridge that gap, because when you're learning new things, it helps to be able to tie it to something that you're already familiar with. And so there's roughly about 6 milestones that have really brought us to the point where we are right now with AI. If you don't mind, Justin, I'll start with one.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And so there's these 2 guys, Larry Brand and Sergey, who start this company called Google. Mm-hmm. And if you recall, and some of us probably were around back then, the early days of internet search engines were just like white pages or yellow pages. Mm-hmm. It was more about,
Ask Jeeves.
Yeah, exactly. Ask Jeeves, Yahoo. It was more about kind of matching words on somebody's web page. Yeah. And then that's what you would get as search results. And so what Sergey and Larry said is, hey, that's fine, but there's something different about authoritative results. And that radically changed how we actually look at search results. Mm-hmm. And so there's a couple of key things here that end up serving the foundation for AI. Number one, the difference between a web page that talks about Kevin's age versus Kevin's web page that talks about his age. While somebody else may know Kevin's age, is that page ages, that information doesn't change. But Kevin, who's the authoritative person on his age, when he provides that information, well, that information, because it comes from an authoritative source, should be ranked higher. Mm. And so the ability to actually rank based on authority changed search engines all up.
You know what was interesting for me, and we were just talking about this before we started recording. Yahoo was like in the lead for search engines back in the day. So it's really interesting to see. Like, here's the thing: we don't even know who is going to be the authority in AI in the future, because even though Yahoo was in the lead, 3 years later or 4 years later, don't quote me on the timeline, Google's now the monster,
the global leader in search.
Right. Yep. And we now use Google as a verb. So it's, what are we going to be using as a verb when it comes to AI? We don't know. I mean,
hopefully Survival Club.
Well played. Well played.
That's right.
But the other key thing that Google did that created that foundation piece is, there's always this question of how do search engines learn? How does AI learn? What Google introduced was a different type of robot that would now comb these pages, that would now say, okay, not only am I going to comb your page and look at all the text you have on your page, but I'm also going to determine if you're authoritative or not. Is this a topic you actually know about? And that's going to be part of the ranking. That process of those robots being able to do that additional work, that kind of serves as a foundational piece of what we see later on. Well, now with AI.
Yeah, like LLMs and stuff like that. How it's very interesting how that works. And I'm trying to bridge the gap, so I'm gonna try to talk a little bit less intelligent about the subject, because when we start talking about AI, people are like, oh my God, it's a lot, and we can start talking about what feeds into AI. We can start talking about the LLMs, but really it's just a algorithm that takes words and outputs rankings in an order. I mean, real simple. And when it puts the output together, it's putting it based off of its predictive ability. So what's interesting about computer science, I'll say, data science, predictive modeling, is you can run a math problem to predict just about anything.
Yeah.
That's all this LLM stuff is. It's a bunch of math in the background that's running to give you an output.
Yeah.
So that said, when really was the advent of AI? We know about it. It's in our vocabulary for the last 2 to 3 years. But how long has AI really been in the picture, whether it be in a different format? Maybe it's not an LLM, but there are other instances that we can think about in history where we can go back and let someone know, don't panic, this was actually AI. You are accustomed using it.
Yeah.
Watson, that was one of them, right?
Yeah, let's talk about Watson.
Yeah.
Because I think that is a significant moment where we transition from these kind of obscure robots off in the distance to an actual practical use. And so 2011 is when it was. So IBM built this massive, what we now would call a large language model, but it was really just an algorithm that stored a massive amount of data. And when I say a massive amount of data, it was roughly 2,800 servers, about 4 terabytes of memory.
That's crazy.
And it said, hey, we think we could actually win at Jeopardy.
Terabytes. That was back in 2011. Nobody was talking about terabytes
of memory. Exactly.
We were still on the gigabytes being a big deal. So,
exactly.
Okay.
So they go into Jeopardy, and I'll pick on Ken Jennings because he's still around. I think he's the host now.
He is.
Ken Jennings at that time was one of the highest winning players in Jeopardy. Yeah. Dude is wicked smart. And so it's Ken Jennings, the number 2 guy in Jeopardy, and IBM Watson. And IBM Watson skunks them by 3x fold.
Oh, wow.
And it's a huge moment for AI, because if you think about the Jeopardy clues, they're not very straightforward. Mm-hmm. Like a Jeopardy clue would be, he was a boy in the hood who had furious style. And you'd have to know all the nuance to say, oh, who was Lawrence Fishburne?
Right.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that's what made it such a monumental point for AI, because Watson was able to pick up those subtle nuances within the clue and skunk human competition with it.
That's very interesting.
So what I'm hearing you saying is what AI actually does a good job of is filling in the blanks, right? Predicting what's coming next, being able to access its database and see where these words or these phrases have occurred before, and then using the context to see this is probably what this person is talking about. Because, the example you gave, it didn't ask the question, who was the actor who starred in, Cornbread Earl and I, right?
Right.
It just stated a phrase that to anyone else would be like, if you haven't seen the movie, it wouldn't make any sense to you. But AI was able to go back in the database, find that, and then isolate it to more than likely with a 99.x% of a chance this is who they're referring to, and end up being correct.
Yes. And to be fair, before that moment of IBM Watson competing in Jeopardy, no one had seen AI do that at that scale. Before, AI was very much, you want me to figure out what 4 is? Well, 2 plus 2 equals 4, or 6 minus 4, plus this, plus that. It was very, very rudimentary, very linear in its thinking. And when it showed up at Jeopardy and was able to take on some of those more difficult clues and answer correctly, it was an eye opener, not just for all the common folk, right? But for a lot of scientists who had heard about AI and see it mentioned in scientific papers, but didn't think it was anything viable. Watson was that first major step in 2011 to actually make a lot of people realize this is something viable. We should lean in.
Watson's like the founder, the godfather of AI. The godfather of AI is AI.
On a large scale. But then there are also instances of AI on a much simpler, more common use case, right?
You talking about like because I was just thinking about like sentiment analysis.
Yep.
Like just like the field of AI and data science and predictive modeling is so large. Like when we start talking about AI taking jobs or people learning how to use AI in a way that does not allow AI to take your job, you're not going to stop this. It's too many people playing in the space for fun. They have open source, which is considered to be anybody can add to the
code repository.
The code repository. Yeah. So anybody can add to the code repository. So let's just say I have a sentiment analysis to know when people are happy. Well, if it's open source, Kevin can add to it, Larry can add to it. They just add to it, upload it to the repository. The repository says, so you have a new addition. Do you want to approve? Approve. Cool. Now it's added. You have people doing this at millions and millions of people doing it at scale. So this isn't something that's ever slowing down. Right. And to your point, there's small guys doing it, there's big guys doing it, and there's everybody in between.
Yep.
They got Python packages that do these LLM models at a small scale, and then you got OpenAI that's doing it at massive scale, or Claude, or Gemini.
Yeah.
One of the things I was thinking about when I started studying about AI a couple of years ago was that just predictive text on your phone.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Right? Something that we've all used on a daily basis as a shortcut is actually a version of AI, a simpler version, right? Yeah. But it's able to read, again, what you're saying and just finish the sentence based on millions of terabytes of data of people writing something along that, right? So if someone was to say to you, Larry, the quick brown fox jumped
up. As you can tell, I didn't learn how to read in kindergarten.
Okay, let's try with you, Justin. The quick brown
I don't
fox
like these quizzes.
Yeah, exactly.
Jumped
up.
I guess I'm too old for this crowd. Okay. So it's over the fence. Okay, and that's something that if you were doing Mavis Beacon typing,
you're right.
Back in the day, that was one of the sentences you had to learn, right? Yep. And so from that standpoint, it's just known that that's what's coming next, right? Or if I say Susie sells seashells
by the seashore, now I know that one.
So it's known, right? And so automatically, if you start typing that in your phone, more than likely it will complete it based on that context, and that's what AI does, right? I just realized that we've been talking about AI, but we haven't really defined it. Anybody wants to throw a definition out there?
Yeah, artificial intelligence mixed in with machine learning. Yeah. So by artificial intelligence, if you think about a baby and how a baby learns from interacting with its environment and with people around it. Artificial intelligence learns by being trained. So you give it data, and then based on the data, it will come out with rankings based on proposed results. I think your autocomplete is a perfect example. It's one of the easiest training models out there where we say, okay, Google, how many people search for blah? And then based on that data, we train our AI model to say, well, if they say the quick brown fox jumped, here's a 90% chance that they're going to say over the fence. Here's a 10% chance that you might get Justin and Larry, and they're going to say up. But it's a fairly simple training model.
Right.
And so that's what artificial intelligence at the root is. Instead of having something that's going out and learning from its environment and interacting with people, you're instead presenting it with data and training its intelligence.
So now every time you prompt Chat GPT or Claude or Gemini, you're feeding into that algorithms or that model's training data, and they're using it to refine their model, and it runs over and over and over again.
Yep.
And the results become more refined, and then the results run again, and they become more refined and over, and the accuracy increases as you add more data to it.
Yep.
Which is machine learning. It is a machine that learns.
Bingo.
Simple as that.
Larry, something that we spoke about before, I want to ask if you could expand on it. It's called the random surfer model. Are you able to speak to that?
Yeah. So this was part of Larry and Sergey's algorithm to go out and actually learn websites. The random surfer model essentially says that if someone is surfing for internet pages and they randomly go to various pages, based on the authoritative source for the content, which of these pages should actually be ranked first. And that's why initially with Google, you would go search something, and then that first page would always seem to be spot on, authoritative responses. But then you start hitting the random surfer results on page 2, 3, 4, where it feels like, okay, this is not what I'm looking for.
Right. And, I've probably been on page 2 of Google maybe 3 times in my life.
Shoot, I don't ever go on page 2. Usually, if I don't find it on page 1, I'm just going to search something else
again,
on Google.
right?
Yeah.
What do you think that little "I'm feeling lucky" button does? Takes you directly to page 7 of the results.
I have never. I think I've feeling lucky maybe 2 or 3 times. That's crazy.
But it's interesting because when we start talking about mathematical models, it is fairly easy to talk about language and text.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to tell a computer to go read this and learn from this. But the reality is that's not how we always learn. And that's why when we look at what the current generative AI models are doing, it's so phenomenal. And so I want to talk about the next big milestone. So we talked about Google getting to authoritative searches. We talk about Watson stepping up and actually putting the world on notice that, hey, AI is actually real. I want to talk about AlexNet. So there's a competition that used to happen every year called ImageNet. And ImageNet is one of the most difficult things at that time, one of the most difficult things for a computer to do, to show a computer an image and have it properly decipher what that image is. And here's why. If I show you a piece of metal with 4 tires, what is that?
It's a car.
Probably a car.
It's a car. But is it a toy car? Is it a radio-controlled car? Is it a real car? Is it a picture of a car? And so just because you can identify it based on those attributes doesn't mean you actually identified it properly.
Right.
And that's why ImageNet was just one of the most difficult competitions in the world. And so in come these 3 researchers from the University of Toronto. They formed this thing called AlexNet. AlexNet wins the competition by leaps and bounds, almost 85% accuracy of identifying pictures. Game changer.
What year is this, Larry?
That's a good question. See, let me cheat here. Look at my notes. 2012.
Okay.
I'm glad I have my notes because I would have forgotten the date on that one. Thank you for asking. And so put that in perspective. 13 years ago, we were just getting to a point where machines were able to properly identify pictures 85% of the time.
That's really high. In machine learning, for images, that's really high.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really high.
What does that turn into now? How many of us have vehicles that will actually keep us at cruise control, proper distance from the car in front of us? And if you drive a Tesla, you can even have it change lanes for you. That's a result of what AlexNet was able to do.
Or your phone taking a picture and you hitting search off the picture. Like that is, all of these things are different iterations of AI.
Yeah.
That is, You talked about it. It was something I was just thinking about. I'm gonna let you keep talking because it was something I forgot my thought. Getting old.
So AlexNet introduced something that's very relevant and becomes even more relevant when we start talking more about Gen AI and agents. It introduced something that's called ReLU, so rectified linear unit. And so most AI models actually learn from identifying linear patterns. If it's 2 of this, 4 of that, then it's this. What rectified linear unit said was, hey, eliminate things. And so past models before that, you would show it a picture and it would give you a list of 1,000 items it could possibly be with a score next to it. 60% chance it's this, 70% chance it's that, 80% chance it's that. What ReLU allowed the model to do is to say, yeah, there's a 5% chance it could be this, but it's not that. Cut, 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 cut. And now you can properly focus on what it really is. That's how humans learn. AlexNet took the AI model and brought it closer to how humans engage with the environment around them. When you touch a chair, well, is it a chair? Is it a dog? Is it a cat? You can easily eliminate those things that it's not, which allows you to focus on the true, genuine possibilities of what it is. And when you're talking about compute power, the ability to rectify and remove certain things so you can properly own in on what it is increases your accuracy.
Yeah.
That's how they got to 85.
That's interesting because I remember running models and, you run a general linear model, and that general linear model will run through and it'll give you a bunch of different things.
Yep.
But then I don't remember the name of the model that we ran, but it loops back, eliminates, and then goes forward, and then loops back, eliminates. So it reminds me a lot of that.
Yep.
But what's interesting, and I don't want to skip too far ahead, but compute power is one of the more interesting because we hear, I know that for all the people that are interested in the stock market and all that stuff, they talk about NVIDIA but the real power came from like gaming, right?
Yeah.
A lot of that was, and I'm kind of going off my own internal knowledge, so this isn't maybe on in the script per se, but
It's not authoritative.
It's not authoritative, right?
Yeah, it's not authoritative. But I mean, as I start thinking about it, NVIDIA, a lot of the compute power that allows us to do AI processing was because of that. The chip that allowed them to do multiple, GPU?
GPU chips,
GPU chips. So now that we have the ability to use GPU chips, now that these AI models can run more compute power quicker.
Yeah.
Whereas before, I forgot what the name of the other chip was, CPU.
Yeah.
CPUs.
Yeah. Just standard.
Yeah.
You use the term, and we've used it a lot, models. So we should probably define models
that's where I
was
to
going
give
next.
people a chance to kind of equate what we mean when we say model. So at the simplest form, ChatGPT is a model.
Yeah. A model is a thing that holds stuff that gives results,
Inputs and outputs.
Yeah. Inputs, outputs.
And it's pretty much,
It's like a cake. You got ingredients to go into this bowl. You mix it. You put it in the oven. Outputs.
Output. Yeah.
and that is kind of where I wanted to go next. So we talk about GPUs, you spoke about models. Let's take that to LLMs, right? What is an LLM? And then when we talk about certain LLMs, we are aware of different versions or models under that. So if you could expand on that for our audience. And remember, we're talking to people here who mightn't be too versed in AI. So I want you to break it down for me.
LLMs are large language models, which at its very base, just like Google, where it took a bunch of words in and ranked them, that's all an LLM is. It's a large language, and this is simple, the simplest form. It takes a bunch of words in, it puts it into a math problem in the background, and it outputs a result, which is, what is the tallest building in the world, ChatGPT? And then you hit enter, it puts these words in, it spits out tallest building in the world is whatever. I don't know the tallest building in the world, but it goes in and looks at all the data that it has access to, which basically is anything that's out there for the most part, right? I mean,
Yep.
And that's how, that's how you come up with a large language model.
So
I mean, it's much more complex than that.
yeah,
But
let's dive in just a little more than that, because Kevin is Kevin is putting us on a journey so gracefully. Thank you so much, sir. So the next big milestone comes in 2017, where we introduce what's called transformers.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason this becomes such a huge milestone is because in the past, AI models would process a sentence word by word. So if you said, and I love the example of the bank is steep and muddy. It wasn't until you hit the word steep that the AI model would realize you're not talking about a financial institution, because it would process each individual word. And so what a transformer allowed it to do was to not process on individual words, but actually take in the whole sentence. And once you take in the whole sentence, now you can easily derive what this person is actually speaking to. That becomes the foundational piece to have large language models. I'm trying to think, and I'll use my cheat sheet here so I can get the names, but there were roughly about 4 engineers from Google who wrote a paper on this, and that's what it turns into. And the reason that matters is because one of the engineers, part of the AlexNet team, Gregory, ends up spinning off a company. This company is all about, AI models. Google buys his company. Gregory now incorporates his technology into Google. He now builds a team of engineers who are focused on AI. 4 of those engineers in that team create transformers. Game changer, because now if you allow the AI model to be able to read the whole sentence and derive what you're saying in a sentence, now you can have conversations with it. Whereas before, when you said the bank is steep and muddy, it's going to take it about 9 seconds to realize, wait a minute, a financial bank can't be steep. Well, it could be. A financial bank could be muddy. Well, it could be. And you would get hallucinations of things like, well, go find a different bank location. No. That's not what I mean.
Right.
And so that transformer becomes a game changer for large language models. And it's the catalyst for building large language models.
yeah.
So in that scenario, models. What's another way that we can liken that to everyday use? Perhaps in cars. We think of ChatGPT, and they've had probably 5 or 6 models.
Good point.
Every 6 to 9 months they come out with a new model. Should I be confused? I hear ChatGPT 3.5, then it's ChatGPT 4 Mini, then it's ChatGPT 5.0. What are we talking about when we hear those terms?
I'll let Justin chime in on this one, but I just want to add, it's funny that, do you know what GPT stands for?
No, I don't remember.
So we just talked about transformers. GPT stands for generative pre-trained transformer. So that milestone of building that transformer where you can have that dialogue with it is right in the name of Chat GPT. Without that transformer, you don't get Chat GPT.
Interesting. Of course, this is built into all the other LLMs, but it just at ChatGPT probably being one of the first decided incorporated in its name.
Yep.
So you said, what is a model, right?
Yeah.
I like what you were going with the car. Like, it's just like it's very similar. Let's use OpenAI. OpenAI would be equated to the actual manufacturer of the car, whereas Model 4.5 might be actual model of the car. So it could be, using Toyota. Toyota's a manufacturer.
Right.
The model is a Camry.
Right.
And then it's going to be an LE. So the 3.5 is the LE, where the 4.0 might be what is the next higher level of a Toyota? Avalon. So, just thinking about it from that, you can use Gemini. Gemini might be a Mercedes. I don't know. All of these different kind of companies create their own manufacturer of LLMs, which then they create the models based off of that.
Right.
And they all do different things.
Yeah. Can I?
Yeah.
Jump in, Larry.
Hey, and let me put my nerd hat on for a minute.
Yeah, sure.
So at the root of these large language models is this concept of what's called a neural network. Neural link networks function similar to the brain. The reason we're able to look at a car and determine it's a real car, not a remote control car or a picture of the car is because we look at certain attributes of what we're seeing to rule out things. What we would do is we would see a car and we would say, well, it's 3-dimensional, so it's not a picture. It's big enough for me to get in, so it's not a remote control car. This is a real car. And so those nuances of what we would use to qualify our decision of what it is are called parameters. And so when you look at large language models, quite often what you'll see between ChatGPT 3 and 3.5 is they've grossly increased the amount of parameters. And so they're still using robots going all the way back to the Google search engine days to comb the internet, to comb these authoritative resources. But as they find these neural links between the resources, they store it as a parameter. The more parameters you have, the better you can actually respond with, this is an image of that, or this is what this person meant. This is why it's interesting, because when kids learn language, those parameters become increasingly important for them to be able to identify and communicate better with other people.
You know, it's interesting. We say neural networks. If you actually think about the way you think about that, that's how a neural network works.
Exactly.
And I wish I could like show you, but think of like a bunch of brain cells over here and a bunch of brain cells over here. Your mind is going like this, and it's picking up a bunch of memories. And you only know it's a car, not because of just the 3D, it being 3D, but you also know it's a car because, oh yeah, I rode in one of those before. Oh yeah, I remember buying that. So you're not just going, I was 5 years old and I learned that this was a car. And when I was 6 years old, I rode in my first car. And when I was 7 years old, I did this in the car. No, you're going all these different things. And what's very, very interesting about the mind and how it equates to, or it is like to a neural network is, we don't necessarily know what the triggers are for us coming to that conclusion. And a neural network is often called the black box because we don't actually know the parameters that it's coming up with. It just pulls a bunch of stuff in. It uses this model to derive its result, and then it puts an output. And then in this case, more likely a machine is reviewing the result and then making a determination on whether it's a good enough result and then putting it back in and then doing it again. Bingo. But from a simplest perspective, if you were to ever, and you actually can do this, you can run your own machine learning algorithm and you'll see the result and you can say, you know what, I want to change this input, which is very similar to a parameter. You change this input, it gets you a better output. And that's how you come up with your own predictive model.
You mentioned something that I think is important because the way we learn, for example, our ABCs. Nobody comes out the gate and knows A through Z. You know, we chunk it into smaller chunks and we force you to kind of repeat that one chunk. And then we force you to repeat chunk 2. And then we force you to repeat 1 and 2 together. And that's that kind of iterative approach to learning. That's what models do as well. And so as they learn more, they add more parameters. And that's why you see, you know, hey, GPT 3.5 to 4 seems to be a huge jump. Well, it just learned a lot more parameters to qualify the questions you're asking and to generate better answers around it.
And when you hit them thumbs up buttons, the thumbs up or thumbs down button on ChatGPT or whatever model you're using, is giving feedback to train that model better. When you say, that's not what I was looking for, I was looking for X, Y, and Z. Okay, it's pulling that in and saying, okay, this was not a good result, or this result is now lowered in ranking or weight. And I'm going to put that into the new algorithm or the new, how should I say this? The new result. And then I'm gonna output something better. And then, this done across how many millions of users, or is ChatGPT have like 100 million or something?
100 million.
Yeah. You got 100 million people putting this stuff in. Now all of a sudden you get really, really high quality results 6 months from now because they've had who knows how many data points. I'd say billions, but I'd probably be way off.
We measure it in petabytes. So
fair.
This is a key point that I want to harp on because as people who are part of our community continue down the road with us, it's important to learn. Quite often we'll look and we'll say, okay, I'm on ChatGPT 3. I could pay to go to 5, but I don't want to do that. You need to understand there could be some very critical advantages that you can leverage at work by jumping up, because the difference between these versions sometimes is 4 to 5 billion additional parameters.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a game changer.
Yeah.
If you're at work and you're responsible for scheduling meetings, well, think about that interface and how much better it will be when you're dealing with way more parameters so it can better interpret what you need. It can go out and call the restaurant for you and now schedule it all in a conversational tone because it has those additional parameters.
You know what was so interesting to me was just the iteration, and this is not even going into the history, but the iteration of ChatGPT where you could actually talk to it.
Yeah.
And have a true to life conversation. If I was to open my phone and pull up ChatGPT, you could literally press a button and have a conversation with it, and it'd come back with relatively accurate results.
Yeah. Well, that's because of the transformers we talked about. Yeah. That's why it's building, right? Google brings us authoritative results using robots, ranking the results officially. IBM Watson now puts it into where it starts to understand the nuance of the human language. Yeah. And so now you're starting to get results that aren't necessarily what is 4 plus 4, but who's Lawrence Fishburne, you know, the nuances of the English language.
Who's Larry? Yeah. Larry Fishburne.
We introduced transformers, right? Which allows the model now to read whole sentences, which, by the way, had very profound effects. Because when the model was able to actually do transforming and read whole sentences, all of a sudden translation via models skyrockets. Because when you're looking at a sentence, and if any of us have taken a foreign language, we know if you're reading English word by word by word and trying to translate that into Spanish word by word by word, you get a completely different sentence.
That's true.
And so once the transformer comes, translation goes up. Yeah. And now once the transformer comes, the ability to actually talk comes up, which, you know, you fast forward to not too long ago. So anyone who feels like they're behind, you're not. 2018 is when OpenAI launched ChatGPT. That's just 7 years ago. Yeah. I got underwear older than that. Yeah. Hey, don't laugh. Those are my most comfortable underwear. Well worn, homie.
I'll bet they are.
And so if you're just now diving into this and trying to figure out how this can impact your day-to-day, how it can make you better at work, you're not that far behind. No one has a huge head start on you. Well, maybe some, but not many.
Yeah, it's a handful. Go ahead, Justin.
No, I was going to say, and it's not that far of a head start. I mean, even the people that seem like they have a really, really good working knowledge of AI, they still probably don't have. I mean, you have so many major models out there. It's very hard to get mastery of all of them. Actually, as a matter of fact, there's a book that talks about it takes 10 years in most instances, or 10,000, Malcolm Gladwell.
10,000 hours.
Or 10,000 hours.
Which
to
is
gain
5
mastery.
years of full-time work to gain mastery.
So, it's very hard to do. Very, very hard to do.
Now, with that said, don't wait.
Yeah,
I pull up my cheat sheet because I just want to show you the numbers. So ChatGPT 1 released June 2018 with, anybody want to take a guess with how many parameters?
2,000.
No, 117 million parameters in ChatGPT 1.
Wow.
In May of 20...
Way off on 2,000, by the way.
Right.
Just a little bit.
May of 2020.
And I got the cheat sheet.
May of 2020, ChatGPT 3 released. How many parameters would you guess?
Oh, shoot. You go. I don't want to look stupid no more.
A trillion.
A trillion. You know, if this was The Price is Right, you'd overpay. But 175 billion.
Dang.
Wow.
So think about that. Think of the growth in parameters. Think of how much that model has been better trained.
117 million to 175 billion.
And how many years was that, Larry?
Between 2020, 2018, and 2020.
So 2 years.
2 years. Yeah. So if you wait 2 more years to get involved in this, you're not going to survive.
That's crazy.
And that's why I really think the analogy of the car is so fitting, right? So just to recap where we are so far, we got a nice foundational history of AI and when it came into play and how it came in by way of pieces. We've reminded our listeners that we've been using AI for over a decade in some instances, even though
shoot, if you look at Microsoft Word, when they're doing spell check, that's a form of AI.
Exactly. That was a form of AI.
They've been doing word checks since like 1995.
So, you know, people could come in and be a little bit intimidated by it, but we've all actually been proficient users of different forms of AI. And then we moved from there to what's really important, what I want people to pay attention to is what is an LLM, right? What is artificial intelligence, right? Large language model, which is kind of like the cars, right? So large language model would be the umbrella over here, cars would be the umbrella over here. Under large language models, one of the models is ChatGPT, right? And so under cars, you can have a Toyota Camry, like you said, right? So all Toyota Camrys are cars, and ChatGPT, no matter what version, is an LLM, right? But not all LLMs are ChatGPT.
Correct.
The same way not all cars are Toyota Camrys.
Correct.
Right? So that's how I want us to think about it as to what an LLM is. And then from there, we can chat a little bit more if you want on some of the different LLM models. ChatGPT, OpenAI was probably one of the first. And so first to market, gets a lot of attention. Everyone kind of knows it, feels comfortable with it. What are some of the other LLMs that we use on there?
I'm going to just remind you, first to market, OpenAI. But back in the day, we had Ask Jeeves, Yahoo,
Right.
AOL search.
Yeah.
And I don't know where AOL is. Yahoo is barely making it. Ask Jeeves ain't nowhere to be found. But we had this 500-pound gorilla called Google. So, but some of the other models, you got Claude, Gemini,
yeah. My favorite.
Perplexity.
That's my favorite.
Right. Yeah.
The nerd model.
Yeah. Right. Perplexity. Of course, OpenAI or ChatGPT. Copilot with Microsoft.
Yep. Got to mention them.
Meta has Llama.
Yeah. Yep. Grok.
Well, nobody plays with Llama anymore, do they? Llama, really?
Grok is a new kid on the block.
Tesla has Grok. There's some concerns around that. But then it goes back to the authoritative piece. So, Larry, let me ask you a little bit about that. All of these models, and once again, we're still thinking about cars, right? You can buy a car on any spectrum, and there'll be different features that you can expect from it. Are these models all created equally, or are there some models that do certain things better than others?
Yeah, that's a great question. There are models that do certain things better than others. And as we get more into this community, we'll use some of those specialized models particularly. But let's talk about why some of them are better than others. It goes back to that Google idea of the authoritative source. So Kevin, if you wrote a book tomorrow, and this book was the 150 ways to woo your woman the way Kevin does. Well, look, some of these brothers going to want to read that book. Well, you want to make money off the book. And so the way you protect the content and the IP that you created is you put some type of gate in front of it, whether that's them needing to go to Barnes & Noble and buy the book, or there's some online site where they have to pay you to get the book.
Right.
When you have AI models that train themselves off of data on the internet, now the people who generate that content are much like you as the author. They want to actually keep certain models from being able to actually read their content and using their content to be trained, because if the model can train on Kevin's ways to woo a woman, I no longer need to read Kevin's book.
Right.
I could just go to ChatGPT and say, ChatGPT, give me Kevin's ways to woo a woman. And so what you'll find is a lot of the model creators now are being forced is a little harsh, but are going in and establishing these contractual relationships with some of the large content producers. Think Wall Street Journal, think New York Times, to say, hey, we want to be able to actually train our model off of your content so we can actually get better responses. Because of those contractual agreements, certain models are going to be more accurate with certain pieces of information than others.
Good. And in a future sit-down podcast, I'd like us to delve into that a little bit more, where we can actually decide, hey, if you want to do this, this might be our first recommendation, right? For this, and just the differences. Like, you want a car to go fast, right? You probably get a Porsche Panamera. If you want a car that can handle all terrain,
Porsche guys. Oh my gosh, Porsche guys. Tell me you drive a Porsche without telling me you drive a Porsche.
Shout out to my guy behind the camera, busy with the Porsche. If you want something that handles all terrain, right, then you might decide to buy a Jeep, etc. So it all depends. The same under LLM umbrellas, the same under cars. Not all cars are the same. different scenarios, different usages require different vehicles, and so it's the same that's applicable with LLM models. So we heard of large language models. Is there such a thing as small language models?
I mean, yeah, you could do sentiment, and there's literally little packages that you can run sentiment analysis. That's a small language model.
But why would you?
I mean, maybe you want to create your own LLM. No, I wouldn't recommend that.
It's so cost prohibitive. Like,
how do you know that, Larry? How do you know that it's cost prohibitive?
because I've done it. I've done it, and it cost me a lot. And afterwards, I was like, "Oh, perplexity, huh?"
So when you build your own LLM model from scratch, you know it costs a lot of money.
It's the equivalent of staying with that car analogy.
Yeah.
If tomorrow you decided I want to build a Toyota Camry without buying a Toyota Camry, and you're going to go out and source all the parts necessary to build a Toyota Camry, look, you're probably not going to be able to build that car cheaper than what it would have been if you went to the Toyota lot and negotiated a deal.
Not to mention, you got to go and buy specific tools in order to put pieces together, which equates to specific knowledge that you have to go out and acquire. I'm sorry, go ahead. That's a very interesting analogy.
Well, and so let's kind of go through, because we're up to number 6, in my opinion, of a significant milestone. Yeah. So, Google revolutionizes internet search. Watson shows the world that AI is real. Researchers introduce the transformer. ChatGPT grows its parameters 10x fold. I'm missing one. What am I missing, guys? Come on now. See, I purposely missed it to see who was paying attention.
Well, I failed that test. You talk about Watson? Was that one of them?
Yep. So the foundational model error of the transformer being adopted by ChatGPT. So that was number 5.
Okay.
Number 6, which was the key milestone, is ChatGPT gets opened up to the world. Plain and simple. For those who don't realize just how significant that was, well, I'll ask you how long? Let's pick a number. Let's say 1 million unique users. How long do you think it took Netflix to get to 1 million users?
No, I just read. I read my cheat sheet, so I know. But I'm gonna say 1.5 years.
Wrong. You want to take a guess?
I did that on
6
purpose,
months?
by the way. I knew it was wrong. I
knew
it was wrong. I was trying to set you up. I'm trying to set you up.
It took Netflix 2.5 years to get to 1 million users. It took Twitter 2 years. It took Instagram 2.5 months. Anybody want to guess how long it took ChatGPT to get to 1 million unique users?
There we go.
No. Somebody got to guess.
Oh, no. A month.
2 days.
You're closer. 5 days.
Damn.
5 days.
Are we supposed to cuss in here? Oh, my bad.
What I remember, and I consider myself a relatively early user, obviously not that early, but I remember going on ChatGPT and you had to wait for it to actually open up a session for you because they just did not have the bandwidth to take on everyone. And there were so many people hitting the server that you would click on it and you'd be lucky if that box came up for you to type into. It's like, oh shoot, I got in. Right. And that's where we've come from to now having different LLMs and to not even thinking twice about opening ChatGPT. But in the beginning, that was the craze, that was the rush, and that was how limited their capability was to handle the demand from the public.
Do you remember when that was?
For me, let me see, this was during the pandemic. This had to be 2022.
Look at this, man.
Spot on.
Correct. November 2022 when it opened up. 5 days later, 1 million.
Was it 2022?
Yep, 2022. Now we're in 2025. Anybody want to guess how many unique users ChatGPT has?
How many unique users? 115 million.
That's a good guess. It's wrong, but it's a good guess.
Trying to set you up.
I think it's probably up to 500 million right now. I don't know.
That's a great guess. It's wrong. It's a great guess. As of July of this year, 800 million unique users.
Jesus.
I say that to say this.
That's 10% of the world's, just about 10% of the world's population.
Yeah, I say that to say this. You're not going to lose your job to AI. You probably will lose your job to someone who knows how to use AI.
Mm-hmm.
And there's 800 million people out there using it.
Mm-hmm.
But Larry, I'm hearing 800 million and I'm still feeling behind if this is one of my first few times logging in, or I've used ChatGPT for simple questions. How many of those 800 million do you think are using ChatGPT or other LLMs to its true potential, if you were to fathom a guess?
You know, if I had to guess, I'd probably say less than 7%.
Yeah, I was gonna say less than 10. So
Yeah. And that's just because if you look at, going all the way back to Google, about 7% of their usage were what were called power users. People who understood that if you used quotes, Google would isolate that and only return results to that. Or if you did site : and put a site in there, it would only give you results. Those are the power users who are really taking advantage of Google. I expect those numbers to be about the same. And so if you get in this lifeboat with us, we're going to try to get you to that 7%.
I mean, you look at Pareto principle in general, you're not going to get more than 20% of all users to be any form of significance. Yeah. So even at 20%, that's about as high as you'll ever see.
Yeah.
Because we're definitely not anywhere close to that.
No, not even, and we probably will never get that close. Yeah. We don't have people at 20% using Google right now. And Google is now a verb. So
correct.
Yeah.
But you also have to be mindful that let's say the other 93 who aren't power users, if they're power users for GPT-5 and or a non-power user for GPT-5 and you're a power user for 3, you're still behind.
Mm-hmm. That's a valid point.
That's a good point.
I mean, we talked about the number of parameters that have changed. Yeah. Those parameters are Neuralinks. Those Neuralinks provide better responses. They generate better data and better responses for you. And so you almost have to keep up with the models.
I heard an analogy of somebody saying being able to prompt engineer is like being able to drive the car. So if you're I'm going to just add to it. If you're at 3.5, you're able to drive the street car. If you're at 5, you may be at race car level.
Right.
And when it turns to 7, now you're at F1, know, and it just iterates over and over and over again, and your car slows down.
Yep. Look, I've played with this stuff a lot, and I've used it in the work environment a lot. And I'm blown away with just the differences between the various models as they move between versions. And I often feel like, the smart guy when someone says, damn, where'd you get that?
Yeah.
Where'd you find that at? And I'm like, well, ChatGPT. Well, I use ChatGPT and I didn't see that. Yeah, you using an older model, homie. Mm-hmm. Right. Come up with us.
Shoot, use an older model or you don't know how to ask it the right question.
Right. Yep.
That is, it's crazy how dramatically different of a result you get from how you prompt it.
Yep.
Like a great example, because somebody was like, are you worried that somebody's going to take the coder's job? And I'm like, not as much as I'm worried about the person that thinks they can take the coder's job by just typing it into ChatGPT, because although you type it into ChatGPT, I can read it, you can't.
Right.
And you can get ChatGPT to tell you what it means, but it's going to take you longer to figure out what's true because, to be honest, it's like learning another language. We were talking about that the other day. If I put the hello world into ChatGPT and say, put it into Spanish, how do you know if it's right? If you don't know
if you don't know Spanish.
If you don't know Spanish.
Right. So you used a term that I want to make sure, and we've used it throughout. And so this is the third time that I caught it. We need to define it. Prompt.
Oh, okay. So a prompt is what you put into ChatGPT. So I want to know what the tallest building is. That's a prompt. Mm-hmm. The tallest building in the world. That's a prompt. The better you get at, and this is even going back to like when we were doing Google and search engines, the better you get at putting prompts into ChatGPT, the better off you are. And when I say better, there is whole classes on how to
prompt engineer.
Like what we're talking about, we're going to actually go through some of the things to help you prompt engineer a query to get the best result that you can get. And even if you don't get the best result, we're going to teach you how to do a prompt to help the prompt tell you how to get a better result.
Prompt engineering becomes almost a science.
Yeah.
But it becomes a significant science because for a lot of the LLMs, they charge you based on the amount of actual tokens or however they monetize it takes to give you a response. And so when you put a prompt in and then you have to go back and say, that's not quite what I wanted, there's more tokens being consumed. And so becoming a prompt engineer is like becoming a ninja back in Japan or a samurai back in Japan back in the days. If we can get you all to a point where you feel like you're worthy of a shirt that says prompt ninja, then that's going to be a game changer for your career.
Yeah.
Period.
For sure.
This reminds me of one of the first things I learned probably in grade 6 when I took my first computer class. It was computer literacy, and it was GIGO.
Yeah.
Right?
Wait,
garbage in,
garbage out.
Garbage
I
out.
thought y'all was doing like typewriters.
It might have been a Macintosh. I'm not going to get into it, but it was a
Oregon
computer.
Trail.
Yeah.
So for those who don't know, Kevin's the youngest of us.
And that the same thing applies to the prompt, right? Your
right back
your
on
output,
track.
Your output is as valid and valuable as the prompt that you use. And that's one of the things that we will be sharing with our community, how they can prompt, how they can improve that output.
Yeah.
So, Larry, are we good with the 6? Because I remember we went through them. Go ahead.
We talked about the milestones. The point I hope you gather from this, everyone listening, is, despite the hoopla, all of the concern around generative AI and AI this, AI that, the reality is we've been using it for a long time. Your search engines were the infant of it. This has just grown up and developed. The reality is it continues to develop and grow fast. And so the more parameters, the more functionality it gains, the more you're going to be able to see it kind of penetrate into particular industries. And the bigger reality, which I hate to be the doomsday type kid, is you need to learn it. You need to learn it. No one's going to come in tomorrow and say, Justin, your job's gone. AI is going to do what you do. But they will come in tomorrow and say, Justin, you're gone. Mike is going to do what you do because he knows how to be more efficient using AI to deliver the results you're delivering.
Man, oh, my bad.
No, go ahead.
No, so we was talking about, I know it was a few weeks ago, maybe a few months ago, I don't know, vibe coding. And, it's a big title, vibe coding, vibe marketing, all of these different things. But when you're in the workplace, there are ways to gain efficiency by using AI that would normally not be as efficient. So I'm going to give you a great example. The email that you're writing to whoever could be a prompt that you pre-build into, if you have the AI where you can build a prompt, great. If you don't, put it in your notepad or Word and save it as a prompt. And all you gotta do is copy and paste, put it in there, and it'll output your email for you, where it normally type 50 words per minute, and it was 100 word, you took 2 minutes, now it takes you 30 seconds. That level of efficiency throughout the day creates a better product as as an employee.
I tell you, my favorite prompt, and I hope no one who's received these emails is offended. But when I get those emails of, hey, I want to meet with you. When are you available? My favorite prompt is perplexity. Look at my calendar and respond to that email with my availability. Done. Do you know how much time I saved instead of going through my calendar? Yeah. Well, I'm available next week, Tuesday at 2 p.m. No, Perplexity put it out there. Good. And I move on to the next.
Yep.
So we alluded to it in the beginning that this is the inaugural podcast for the AI Survival Club. The three of us decided to come together to form this group and this community on our school platform. Let's chat a little bit as we wrap up on what users or community members could expect. Who are we appealing to? Who are we welcoming in? And what could they expect to benefit? How could they expect to benefit from being part of this?
I mean, honestly, we've talked about small business owners. We've talked about house makers, homemakers. What's the other one? I'm drawing a blank. Help me out, somebody.
corporate America.
Corporate America
thank you.
professionals. Yeah.
So how can they become more efficient in their job? How can they become more efficient in their home life? Like you said, hey, Perplexity, respond to, and it does it for you. How I want to create an automation that automatically replies to emails for my kid's school's PTA program. I don't know. I want to automatically every week on Monday at 6 a.m. create a meal list for the week for my kid.
Yeah.
And in that meal list, I need it to be vegetarian and gluten-free because my kid can't eat dairy. I don't know. So stuff like that. We're going to be going through and real life examples. Like I wanted so bad to pull out my phone and pull up ChatGPT and have a conversation with it just to show what is possible, because the reality is we could talk about this all day long, but actually displaying it is where the power comes in. And my personal goal is to help empower somebody to be able to use ChatGPT in a way, or I'm saying ChatGPT, use
Generative
AI in a way
Good catch.
that allows the person to take their skills and iterate across every LLM model. Because if you learn how to prompt engineer in ChatGPT, you can prompt engineer in Claude, you can prompt engineer in Perplexity, Gemini, Notebook LM, all of them.
Yep. So my response to that is, to this community, this is my promise. And for me to say that, it's big, because I take my word seriously. I want, all jokes aside, AI has an opportunity to be a great equalizer of wealth across the world.
That's right.
The way that you could become more efficient at your job, the way you can become more efficient in how you do your day-to-day, puts it in a position where if I'm more efficient about how I spend my time, and time is money, then I actually can be better with the money I have. Mm-hmm. And so my promise is I want everyone engaged in this community to view us as a resource to help them keep up with the changes related to AI. That's why we decided not to do this as a podcast that's out in the wild, but instead bring it to school. Mm-hmm. So that way you have the chance to interact with us in that various school community format. You can get the insight. You can ask for, hey, I saw this. What does this mean? And we'll be sharing some of that insight regularly. And so my promise to you is to be a resource that helps you survive AI. Period.
I don't think it's lost on anyone that one of the top 3 issues that worries people all over the world, but especially in America, is job security.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Right.
Man, shoot, if you just look at the headline, what was it, 4 days ago, Amazon talked about dropping 37,000 workers or something like that, 43,000 workers?
Hey, man, some of those are my friends. It's too soon. It's too soon.
I mean, it's too soon. Shoot, we talking about UPS just talked about they were cutting work. I mean, it is happening over and over and over again, and it's
on an unprecedented level.
The power is going to come in being able to recreate yourself in a way that makes you marketable in the job market.
Yep,
that's what it's about. And so what I want to, as Larry, I think I really like, your promise / pledge. And I think I could speak for all of us when we talk to those who are listening and those who will be consuming some portion of this podcast, that when we came together to figure out what we can do, there was a certain part of us where it wasn't about the money, right? Like you said, it was about the ability to empower people.
Yep.
We're all sitting on a bubble of uncertainty, right? But one way that, like you mentioned, Larry, the great equalizer, that you can give yourself a fighting chance is by becoming comfortable, proficient, literate, and eventually more productive by utilizing AI. And so we keep going back to it. You won't lose your job to AI. You will lose your job to someone who knows how to use AI. That is the truth, right? All 3 of us have been in management. We know what it looks like when at the end of the day, the higher ups say that you need to cut 10%. Mm-hmm. You are going to target the non-performers or the low performers.
Yep.
What our community seeks to do is to take everyone who's a member of the community and empower you 10x what your normal capability is. And so to be able to deliver on a higher level, faster, more accurate, more efficiently than anyone else who is not part of this program. And by doing that, one, you secure your space at your role. Two, you open up more opportunities at other companies, right? When more AI related jobs come up. And three, you actually also secure yourself better raises and bonuses, etc.
Yeah.
Right. And so we've spoken about school. You'll see during this this YouTube podcast at the bottom, we'll show you the address for you to go to register to our school community and to benefit from that. But we just want to let you all know that our goal is to build a community of like-minded people who are starting at zero. You don't have to worry about it being too late. We want you to come on in, work with us, learn with us. All we ask is that you be curious, have an open mind, and we are going to share with you what you need to know. There's so much more fluff and technical stuff out there, but we're not going to bombard you with that. We're going to keep this as clean as possible. And the productivity hacks that we share with you will be those that you can apply immediately in your job, at home, at school, in your business, in any scenario.
You wanted to say something?
No, that's exactly what I wanted to say. I didn't want to leave out the small business owners, because as a small business owner, I find that AI has helped me in my bottom line immensely.
Absolutely.
Right.
I think one of the key components to our community is this is probably the most technical we will speak without giving you the tools to actually do it. So, you know how we stopped and we broke down the definitions of certain things? In any industry, there's always going to be industry speak. And so we want to teach you the industry speak, but we also don't want to get too far down into the weeds that you become uninterested. So this, I am going to venture to say that this is going to be probably the most technical podcast that we have, because at the end of the day, we don't want you to focus on just the LLM back office workings, because that doesn't necessarily, we actually talked about that right before the podcast.
Yeah.
Why is it important? It's important for you to know in the back of your head, just in case somebody wants to, play 21 questions with you and you want to flex on them a little bit. But at the end of the day, it's really about how you prompt engineer, because I can tell you for sure, I don't know how to build an engine in a car, and I can't tell you what piston goes to where and all the different interworkings of a V8 engine, but I can tell you how to drive it.
Right.
Yep.
And that's what we want you to be able to do.
And we're going to do a lot of do with.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
Do with.
Yeah.
So, closing remarks.
So one of the things that I really want to ask of anybody watching this podcast, and hopefully we can chop this up a little bit so that we can get this, give us comments and feedback on what it is, not only that you learned, but what you want to hear more of. Because when we start to do these podcasts, it's not about us, it's about you. So if we put out a podcast and you're like, man, that shit is whack, sorry, tell me, please.
We'll edit that.
Yeah.
Avocado.
Is what, but just tell me, because at the end of the day, we want to create impactful content, not content.
Yeah.
Just to get.
And I would add a little bit of justification, or a better define that, to say not only what you want us to talk about, but what you want to see us build.
Yeah.
Because the goal is to do with, and we're going to take on some projects where you're going to come in and we're going to actually show you this is how you actually build this, so you can start leveraging it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So your success is our success. At the end of the day, we want to hear that you got a new opportunity. We want to hear that you were able to share something with your team at work and show them a new way to accomplish something. You want to hear that you got kudos. We want to hear that you got that new job or that new promotion because of the ability to utilize AI. That is our goal, right? And that's our promise and our commitment to you, is to take you along the way. The name of our community is the AI Survival Club, right? Survival, both from the standpoint that it's becoming more and more challenging to survive, but also because people are intimidated by AI. So how do you survive the AI revolution? Stick with us and we'll help you through it.
And one more thing, because I just thought about this.
I just had a bomb ending there.
It was perfect.
Go ahead,
man.
Jeff.
Listen, I understand, but I do want to say this, because at the end of the day, there is a lot of companies that are inputting their own LLM models or their own AI models inside of their interworkings. So they're not allowing you to use the external version of ChatGPT we're going to focus on not only how to use ChatGPT or Perplexity or whatever model outside of the work environment, but also how to navigate in the work environment. Because I work for a company where you can only do the LLM of choice inside of the inner workings of that company. You can't go out to the public, and it's, I don't know, 2 or 3 models behind, and a year of data later or earlier. So it's something that you have to be able to work around, and we don't want the narrative of, well, that doesn't pertain to me because my company doesn't use AI, LLMs that you're talking about. We'll figure out how to get around that.
Yeah.
Sorry about your ending.
Good.
Sir.
That'll be all. Look forward to chatting with you all again. And thanks for joining us as the co-founders of the AI Survival Club.